with you. We have a live guest who's joining us on the broadcast. This is Nigel Walker, the communications advisor at the Norwegian Afghanistan Committee. We spoke to him yesterday also. He gave us the first-person account of what he has seen, the first live, Nigel, that happened yesterday with you. We thank you once again for joining us on Republic. How are you doing? Where are you right now?
I'm currently at my house in Kabul on the rooftop.
How are you doing? How are you holding up? What have you seen around you?
So this morning we made an attempt to get to the airport, and we left at 6 a.m. And within 2 blocks of our house, we were stopped by a member of the Taliban. He allowed us to proceed further towards the airport. When we got to the big intersection in Wazir Akbar Khan by the green zone, we were stopped again by about 7 or 8 members of the Taliban, and it was a more of an official checkpoint. We were told we could not proceed. They asked for our identifications, and they informed us that we were not allowed to proceed to the airport without permission from the Taliban.
You know, Nigel, what you're telling me is really important. You're telling us that you were stopped, you were halted by this group of men from the Taliban, and they said that you cannot proceed unless there is permission from the Taliban. You told them about your identity.
This is correct.
Then what happened? What did you see around you? What about the other people, the other colleagues of yours that you possibly could be in touch with? Has anybody been allowed to leave?
I haven't heard of anyone who has been allowed to leave since last night. Our associates, who we discussed yesterday, had left early to get to the airport and wait for the same flight that was leaving this morning. They were there, they arrived there after a couple of hours. At about between 8 and 9 p.m., a gunman went into the airport, the terminal, and as a result, everybody went out, rushed out onto the tarmac. I believe there's footage of that. Many of those people actually fled towards the military side of the airport, the American side. And my friend, who is an American, said he was very fortunate that he wasn't actually shot because it was dark and there was a lot of people running towards that part of the airport. The American people in that group, some of them were taken to the military side, and then the civilians were, the rest, the Afghan nationals, were returned to the civilian side.
You know, Nigel, I think it's really important to talk a little bit more in detail about, this experience of yours, because the Taliban right now, Nigel, is on a PR overdrive, wanting to, make the world believe that this is a new Taliban. It has no problem, with people. It is going to be ensuring their safety, security. But what you have experienced and the very fact that they did not allow you to leave tells us otherwise.
I think that permission can be given. There's 2 big challenges here. I believe later on in the day, we were given permission to go to the airport. So we were, through our contacts, we were allowed to get permission to move to the airport. However, as you've seen, the situation at the airport is really unstable. I believe there are 3 confirmed dead there in the last few hours. The military part of the airport was therefore closed. The gates were closed. And so whilst we were allowed to leave, while we were given permission to leave, we did not go because we were not going to be allowed in to the military part of the airport. And therefore it would have been perhaps more dangerous for us to be on the streets towards the airport with all the chaos that was going on.
Yes, Nigel, is there any word update on how soon could we be looking at, operations resuming at the Kabul airport? Anything that you've heard so far?
I mean, I can only talk about the rumors I've heard 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days. And what has the situation been on the road like? You traveled till a point, you said. You spoke about what you saw earlier with us yesterday. A lot of locals are on the streets, ATMs being shut, very long queues. What have you seen on the road? How was the situation 24 hours ago and earlier today?
I haven't been out in the last couple of hours, but our associates here have told me that shops are open, people are on the streets. This morning it was pretty empty. There was a lot of Taliban presence, but we were not threatened in any way.
Okay, and I mean, are you facing any kind of challenges, any other issues? Because there were reports that a lot of supplies have possibly been affected, considering that a lot of roads leading to Kabul right now could be jammed. A lot of traffic jams also, Nigel, is what we have seen. So what about your daily essential supplies?
Yeah, so we've decided to go into conserve mode. So we're only running the generator for an hour a day. And I have heard there are shortages. There's not much food and petrol.
Okay, and today, the situation obviously has turned to get us images of desperation. We've seen them earlier at the airport. The reason why I think a lot of movement now in the roads leading to the airport have been shut, Nigel. But, you've spent some time there in Kabul. You've seen what's happened in the last few hours, Nigel. What is your perception on how we could be looking at things moving? Also, you must have spoken to a few locals. How are they holding on to what's going on?
Well, I think one way to look at it is this is a city of 7 million people. And amongst the chaos, there were no police. There was no army. So I think there is some truth to the Taliban coming in and stabilizing the city. And I think some of the population welcomed that because things were getting out of hand.
Okay, and do you see the cops? Do you see members of the army around trying to control the situation, trying to communicate with the locals so that there is no panic?
No, I haven't seen any police or army. No. They've gone.
All right, Nigel, you stay safe, you stay good. Thank you so much for your time. We will reconnect with you later also. Thank you for recalling your experience there and getting us that ground report yet again from Kabul in Afghanistan. Thank you.
You're welcome.